In today's video, I scratch and weather a door, I wire up some sketchy looking electronics, and I pour some more resin. So the keen-eared observers might realize that I'm sick. Yay me, I get 4 days off of work, and I'm spending them sick, but I really wanted to get this video out, and now that I have some time, I'm gonna do it. Ever since I finished the shipwreck diorama, I knew I wanted to reattempt it or revisit it, except this time using like a 1/35th scale figure. So that's what I wanted to do this time. Using a hot wire knife, I just roughly cut out shapes to form the majority of the cave. Once I was happy with the rough shape, I then used my standard ground texture. In this case, I did not blend it just because I wanted it to be a little bit more coarse, and use that to line the walls. The main focal point at the back of the diorama is going to be that door, so I wanted to embed a little piece of XPS foam to act as the concrete abutment around it. I wanted to seal everything together and essentially give it all a base coat, so I mixed up a little concoction of plaster of Paris, glue, and some paint. Once everything was coated, I then made and applied some of the stalagmites. I made them the same exact way I made them in that last diorama, which was just using some air dry clay and rolled to the general shape. To help further blend the stalagmites in with the groundwork, I also wanted to add some more rocks. And these are just some rocks that have been sifted from my backyard. To seal everything in place, I just used some isopropyl alcohol and followed that up with some watered down Mod Podge. While that was drying, I just scratch built a little door. I was going for an old school, kind of mysterious looking bunker door. Yeah, I gotta think about bunkers, I know. So stay tuned for next year. More bunkers to come. Man, I'm lame. I wanted to give the door a heavy steel texture, so to do this I just used some Tamiya putty, thinned it down with some Mr. Cement, and stippled it on. I wanted to add some gnarly, nasty, fat welds, so to do this I used some green stuff. I rolled it into thin strips and applied them to this little C-channel, using a silicone brush just to kind of push it in there, and the edge of another spatula thing just to help kind of give that weld texture. And to all my welders out there, no, I'm not stacking dimes because, again, like I said, gnarly and nasty, so it's supposed to look like crap. Once the green stuff had cured, I then primed it black and applied a rusty base coat. To which I then applied a chipping fluid to. Once that was dry, I then applied a green base coat. Once dry, I then used a wet brush and slowly started massaging the surface to help chip away that paint. I used AK's Worn Effects instead of their heavy chipping effects fluid. This is a little bit more resilient than the heavier one, so it should take a little bit more to reactivate that chipping fluid, so it should, I guess, as the name implies, lead to a more worn effect than a chipped effect, if that makes sense. It's all marketing hoopla anyways. I then raided my stash of unused decals from previous projects. See, it's not a hoarding problem if you actually go back and use it. And remember, the dust that covers all of your unused stuff is there to protect everything too, so it's okay. I don't have a problem. With the decal applied, I then went over it with an aggressive rust wash, and that was it for the door. Moving back to the cave, I needed to tie in those stalagmites with the actual ground texture, so I gave it a quick little coat of some sandy color through the airbrush. I then painted that little piece of XPS foam a cement color and glued the door to it. I then applied a burnt umber oil wash to all of the groundwork. While that was drying, I then went on to working on the lighting. Just made some holes with some skewers and fed the wires or the LEDs through them. To wire everything together, my go-to method is actually taking apart an old Ethernet cable and using the wires from within it. Once wired and tested, I moved on to painting a figure. I wanted to try doing a woodland camo scheme for the pants, so I applied a green base coat. And then roughly blocked in the camo colors using a lighter sandy color and a medium brown color. Followed up with a few smaller blobs of black. I then glued him in place. And then made a rickety looking bridge and then glued that in place as well. It was then time to start pouring some resin. And if you've been around for any kind of length of time, you would know it's a 50-50 on whether or not it's going to work. You would also probably know that I don't set myself up for the most success either when it comes to resin. But hey, 2024, new goals. Once the resin was then set, I painted the sides black and called this one good. Thank you guys so much for watching and putting up with my sick voice. I'm gonna go lay down in bed. I'm tired and I'm done. Bye-bye.